She also likes the one shaped like a sailing ship. Their mounts are huge beetles with bright emerald eyes. Squirrel really hates this part because she is afraid of beetles. But the beetles trot along pretty fast and smooth along the rocky ground. If the way is marked, Squirrel can't see it. It's a desert with dead trees that look like candelabras sticking up all over. The smell of liniment pervades. It seems to come from the trees. Then at the end, it gets dark. No moon, and only the faintest gleam from stars, and they make her dismount and walk. They have to keep walking, even though she is tired and thirsty. The land becomes greener. She thinks maybe because there's huge trees towering overhead. They cross a bridge over a river which has periodic volcanic eruptions and smells like wax. It seems to be called the Burning River. "What's your name?" she finally asks the man with the plume. "Plum," he says. "But don't even think of getting familiar. I'm apprenticed to the Royal Guard." "No, you're not," says one of the boys. "Mind your manners," says Plum, and twists the boy's ear. And then they're in a huge, pale green courtyard. Fruit trees surround them, trees adorned with spiky, pear-shaped fruits, long orange fruits that look like string beans, tiny clusters of black fruits. There are also flowers. Everything smells like bread and jam and melted butter, and Squirrel thinks she will faint unless she eats, so she steals one of the orange string beans. When she bites into it, it screams. Plum looks at her with disgust and tears it from her hand. There's more to it, but it's sort of disjointed, so I haven't actually finished it in a finished kind of way. So anyway.
Where is it going to be? Do you know?
Where?
Yeah,
Oh, heaven only knows. I don't know if anything like that is even saleable. I don't know. It's sort of like me.
Her name, the child's name is Squirrel.
Squirrel. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I feel the child ought to be named Squirrel.
It's very amusing.
So the odds are we might never find out what the dream machine is?
It's a time machine.
I like the idea of a little time machine. It's kind of neat.
You go into the drugstore and you go up to the shelf with the really expensive, the $4.50 ones, or are they now $6, $5.99 cards, and that you open it up and it sings, only this time you open it up and it's a time machine and it comes out and bites you and takes you back into the Cretaceous or somewhere else. Yeah. No, it's basically, malevolent, sort of.
There's definite resonance with Alice and Following the Rabbit.
It had an Alice in Wonderland feel. I like the little
Updated
silver
for the
confetti.
subway.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, you won't after a while.
Also Hansel and Gretel, a little touch of Hansel and Gretel.
How are you going to develop the Royal Guard type thing?
They had developed a
Yeah,
what?
the Guard,
Yeah.
Is that going to be developed to like a,
They,
where's that going? Like?
the truth is, I'm not entirely sure this is a fantasy world. Believe it or not. I'm not sure that it's not our world. The thing that makes it maybe not our world is the time machine. But the rest of it is all real. Well, I shouldn't tell you that, but you'll forget it. By the time this appears in print, you would forget it, and so it doesn't spoil anything.
Then you have the question of, how's Mom involved with all of this?
Oh, is she ever? Is she ever? You will find out. Yeah, Mom is I think she's an orthopedist. I can't remember. What specialty I gave her. Something that I could look up.
Well, you know immediately something's up with Mom. If she doesn't do
Immunology or
something.
something like that, wasn't it?
She's the shirt is from the Department of Immunology, but she borrowed that from somebody. She's an orthopedic specialist of some kind. Somebody that my nephew knows, I'm sure. He sells back implants to people, so I'm going to tap him for information on what Squirrel's mother does.
So the good news could be that Mom is going to come rescue you, and the bad news is you're grounded till you're 23.
Maybe Mom will be grounded until she's 23. I don't know. I don't know whether Mom's going to be grounded. I got another 3 pages, but not the same story. Should I, or?
Oh, you're easy.
Okay,
You got
well,
a
this
few
is
minutes.
fast, okay. I got contacted by people who are doing an anthology, I think this is the second one actually, where they're doing like stories set in Philip Jose Farmer worlds. And they, for reasons that had to do only with, you know, some sort of egomania on my part, I asked if I could do, well, guess which one it is. If you, do you know anybody, you know Philip Jose Farmer? Okay, well, guess which one this is. You'll probably recognize it. The oil had turned to blood. As if New Orleans hadn't had enough trouble, the roiling oil from the spill ruined the beaches. Rumors were that the ocean had caught fire in several tourist areas. Harry Child couldn't sleep. He knew that despite the horror, he'd have to watch the YouTube snuff vid again. How could he avoid it? His partner was the star. An indoor swimming pool. The surface of the water roiled unpleasantly, but it was better than the polluted water on the beaches. In the center of the pool was a concrete island, and on that, a bed. A man lay shackled on the bed. Turzillo, Harry's former partner. And then the camera view swung up to the diving board. Poised there was a woman in a mermaid costume. Had to be a costume, but if it was really good. She was beautiful. Her hair was glistening black, silky and straight. Her naked breasts were as round and perfect as molded flan, with cinnamon freckles and tips of burned sugar. She seemed to wear no lipstick, and yet her small lips stood out crimson in her pale, dark, heart-shaped face. Her eyes were the most arresting, the blue-green of the Gulf, before the spill had spoiled it. She dove into the pool. Zallo struggled to get free of his bonds, but as she climbed aboard the concrete island, it was clear he wasn't trying to escape. He wanted her. It was evident from the tumescence of his uncovered sex, somehow too perfect. Then she picked up a green scarf from the platform. She teased his body with it as he lunged toward her, began an undulating dance. He quieted, but looked almost hysterical with lust. She danced balanced on the mermaid tail. It didn't look hokey or fake, but Harry knew it had to be. Then she poised at the front of the bed and placed her hands where her own sex would be. When Harry first saw the YouTube, he had wondered, did fake mermaids have sexual organs? She began to rub it. By the way, if you want to leave at this point, you can. All right. Okay. All right. Well, okay. But it is, you know, at least R-rated. Not as bad as Farmer, but, you know. She began to rub at her abdomen, rub at the place where her legs would part if she had legs. And the tail began to show an opening. It opened and opened, and her mermaid tail began to come apart. She worked the opening like clay, extending the cleft between the two parts of the tail further and further until the tail became separate. While she did that, she mimicked the pleasure of a woman enjoying her own body. No, she didn't mimic. This had to be genuine. The thrusting of hips, the head thrown back, the tongue snaking between the parted red lips. The two tails were still scaly, still iridescent green like a swordfish's sides. But they were also two tails, not legs, tails. She straddled Zallo. He made to penetrate her, but she shook her head and crawled on her knees further up. She meant to enjoy his oral attentions. Harry couldn't tear his eyes away, even though he knew what was to come. The mermaid, fake mermaid, sat on Zallo's head. He complied eagerly, his tongue flicking out at first and then buried in the green cleft. Harry could see that the mermaid's scales mutated into jet black pubic hair. After the mermaid had enjoyed at least 5 orgasms, she withdrew again to the foot of the bed. Zallo seemed to be pleading for attention to his own needs, but she shook her head coyly and took out the scarf. She wrapped it around Zallo's eyes. Then, facing the camera, she winked and reached under the bed and withdrew a set of teeth that had once belonged to a fairly large shark. With some effort, she inserted these deep into her strange green furred cleft, and she again settled on Zallo's face. If he noticed anything wrong at first, he gave no indication. She began to rock back and forth in ascending ecstasy. As she did so, Zallo's head began to disappear into her cleft. It went farther and farther in until his face was no longer visible. The camera glided down his body to indicate that apparently his excitement was unabated despite the fact that he could hardly even be breathing. The mermaid was enjoying this. to all appearances. She continued rocking and throwing her head back until Zallow's head disappeared into her body right up to the neck. Then her face darkened with effort, her knees tightened, and Zallow began to thrash. His thrashing didn't last long. The mermaid pulled away, stood on her two tails, and watched his final throes with interest. His head was gone. Blood spurted all over the bed and into the pool, darkening the sheets and the water like oil. The mermaid fingered the cleft between her two tails and teased out the scarf, now wet and dark with blood. She flung it into the water. Then, with more effort, she withdrew the shark's teeth, bent down, rinsed them in the swimming pool, and put them under the bed. Zallow's headless body ceased thrashing now. She sat down on the edge of the platform and began kneading once again at her crotch. By some trick of CGI, it molded again to a single mono hip. Then she pressed her legs together and with a flick of the tail flung herself back into the water. The camera focused on the diving board again, where a sinister man in a cape opened his red mouth to display shark teeth, just like the mermaid's. He wriggled upright, balanced for a moment on the edge of the diving board, and then parted the cape to display a merman's tail, a merman vampire. And believe it or not, that's very much calmed down from the farmer, I assure you. I don't know why I decided to do that. I mean, I'm nuts.
You got a great imagination.
Well, at least a sick one, I don't know. I don't know. So I have to
It's a dirty job that somebody's got to do.
It certainly is a dirty job. I have to turn it in by December 1st. And I thought, well, if I read it at this thing, then that will make me think about it at least. So anyway, sorry. I hope I didn't offend it.
No, it's sort of like
Horrible,
whimsical
yeah.
horror.
Well, that was what, that was
You
what.
wonder what dinner table conversation is like at your house, but anyway.
Yes, well,
Well,
Farmer was an amazing man. He was absolutely amazing. He did things that in literature that just have never been done before and will never be done again. And this is a pale and bloodless emulation of what the beginning of Image of the Beast is actually like, believe me.
what kind of mythology are you writing it for?
It's a, shoot, I don't remember the name of it. My mind is a sieve.
Is that horror?
I believe it's going to be a Nightshade publication, but it's the people that are doing Farmer's Estate, and it's a work for hire because obviously I don't own the characters.
Pastiches of farmers' work.
Yeah, well, pastiches or continuations in the same world. I read the previous one; it was pretty
Okay,
good.
well, I couldn't pick up which one that was pastiching about, but it was okay because I
Image of the
haven't read
Beast.
enough Farmer.
Yeah, well, Image of the Beast, and Image of the Beast is reprinted. You can find it.
Okay, Image of the Beast.
It's not. You're not going to find it in the library, though. I don't think.
Daryl will have it. Don't even worry about it.
Daryl will have it. Daryl will have it. Yes, he will pluck it out and say, "Here you go." There's two versions of it. There's one that's called Image of the Beast and Blown.
Blown, yes.
Blown is the second part of you. It's very interesting because you pick it up and he published Image of the Beast first and then Blown afterwards, but it's published under one book, a fairly short novel actually, as the two of them together are just called Image of the Beast. And it's amazing. It's amazing that he can make a story and at the same time just with this incredible roiling grotesque imagery. He's an amazing man, just an amazing imagination.
Do I remember you wrote a book about Farmer?
Yeah, I was at one time. I'm no longer, because there's a lot of better farmer experts, but at one time I was one of the world's 10 leading experts on Philip Jose Farmer, but not anymore. Not anymore. I'm not even sure I've read everything by Farmer. I'm not sure anybody has read everything by Farmer.
Is your Riverworld's going to get into a movie or something?
Sorry?
Riverworld, is that going to get into a movie or something?
I thought it was.
Oh, yeah, it was. I
already.
think it's
Was
been
it?
yeah, I think so. I think it's been a
Yeah,
television series or something. Yeah, yeah, we are conquering the universe. And I think I better get out of here. So, hey, thanks for coming.